today we're talking about spiritual things. It's going to be fairly academic, but I just want to remind you that this is important because we have a generation, and you probably wouldn't be here if you weren't interested in spiritual things. Also, the things that we're going to talk about today, it's going to give us handles to be able to understand people who may believe differently about spiritual gifts than you do. So it's helpful information. And I told you before that we would cover the sign gifts. We've already covered the speaking gifts and the serving gifts, and today we're going to start this process this week. In a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about the sign gifts of tongues and interpretation and healing and miracle, and depending on how you define it, prophecy. And we begin that conversation. And we're going to be in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And as you turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, just be reminded that this is a letter of correction. Paul is writing to the church at Corinth because they're really missing the mark. They're missing understanding what it is to know God, to love God, to be filled by Him, and then how that works itself out in the body of Christ and in the world around them. It's a rebuke in some areas. And as we open this up, we need to remember that in our church body, we need to be marked by love and unity. That needs to be true of us. And as we start to talk about spiritual gifts, specifically sign gifts, everyone in here, well, many of you in here, you have a particular bent or interpretation on what that might mean. And it's close and it's personal. But the issues that we're talking about when it comes to the spiritual gifts, these are secondary issues. These aren't primary issues of determining whether or not you're going to be in heaven. And the moment that we begin to make these primary issues and divide and not love, that becomes a problem. So as we open these things up, we're going to have the opportunity to show grace and then maybe to learn something that maybe we didn't know before as the Lord opens up our eyes. So